And within 24 hours of landing in New Delhi, I had a few days there in the city before I was scheduled to go up to the mountains. I met a magical man by the name of Sudhir. Sudhir was a holy man, and he and I met first on the rooftop of the hotel that I was staying in. He was sitting there and he was wearing a perfectly white Punjabi outfit. He had this gorgeous thick black hair and black eyes. The city was filthy, but he was perfectly clean. He invited me to dinner that first night, and we had a wonderful meal, which I share about in the book. I decided that I needed some alone time, and I had the ability, and the villagers actually supported my effort to take a little bit of a trek up into the mountains further. And so I did. I had my backpack, and I was just going to go, and I was just going to walk. And I walked. And I started to see snow, and I got further and further, and you know, this is the freakiest thing in the world, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these guys with guns pop out from behind these boulders. And they start talking really fast, and they've got guns, and I'm like, I'm in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden there's these guys with guns. So I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to say, but I'm turning around. And I did, and I bolted, and I ran as fast as I could, and you know, my heart was racing, and I got turned around, I got lost. There were a lot of different types of trails that were going in different directions, and I turned around and I just didn't know where I was. Nothing looked familiar. And I saw Sudhir in the distance. I didn't know it was him at first, but he motioned for me to come to him, and I went. And there he was. It was Sudhir. He invited me to come and to see his home. How radically wild is that, to have run into Sudhir in the middle of the Himalayas?
Meant to be.
Meant to be. So I graciously and very happily followed him to his home. And we shared a wonderful, magical meal that night. And so I'd like to read from you from the chapter on self-discovery. His knowledge defied logic, and he seemed otherworldly and magical. I've never experienced any other person I had never experienced in any other person the love and presence that he embodied. He demonstrated no judgment, only love. He enthusiastically professed to me that all of life is love. He spoke of the Creator and the created. He spoke about the dance of life. I loved the gentle way he shared his words. They unfolded with a lightness that only truth can hold. He spoke of cycles and other dimensions, and mostly of God and the energy of love that is the foundation of all that is, has ever been, or ever will be. He counseled me on the power and energy of sound, and to be consciously careful with the language I used. I was mesmerized by our interaction and completely lost track of time as night began to surround us. He prepared a simple meal of pungent spinach with goat cheese, curried chickpeas, and cauliflower on rice with chapati. See why I chose this restaurant. We ate under a glowing blanket of stars as an owl hooted in Morse code throughout the night. He brought me a warm wool cover, and I felt cherished as I hadn't since childhood. He counseled me to allow my love to nourish myself as well as others. Do not strain after the needs of life, he cautioned. It is sufficient to be quietly alert and aware of things. In this way, life proceeds more naturally and effortlessly. Life is here to enjoy, he counseled. So these were Sudhir's wise, sage advice to me at 20 years old. And I cherish the memory of Sudhir and our interaction. And we actually ended up having several more interactions before I left India. And they were all random and unpredictable. And he always greeted me with that warm smile and black eyes.